Over the last year or so, I've made a ton of videos showcasing some of my favorite venison recipes. And it seems like everyone tends to make the same 3 or 4 things with their deer meat year after year, and that's just way too boring for me. Yeah, I got burgers, yeah, I got steaks, yeah, I got chili, but there's just so much more. We're talking cuisine from all over the world, adapted to be absolutely delicious with venison as the main protein. So in this video, we're recapping 15 of my favorite deer recipes that will open up your venison repertoire to a whole new world of dinner possibilities this hunting season. First up, Swedish meatballs. Seasoned balls of meat mixed with fresh parsley, garlic, and breadcrumbs, perfectly seared and served in the most creamy and savory gravy, with hints of nutmeg and Dijon mustard, giving it that classic Swedish meatball taste. Serve over egg noodles, mashed potatoes, or just eat them all on their own. I can promise you won't find meatballs this good at a big box furniture store. Number 2 on the list is Venison Carne Asada, a Mexican steak classic. A good carne asada is all about the marinade. Bright citrus juices combined with the herbaceousness of oregano and fresh cilantro, all boosted by garlic, ancho chili, and a few other ingredients. And the whole thing couldn't be simpler. Soak your venison steak overnight in the marinade, and then sear that thing over high heat on a grill, a flat top, or a cast iron frying pan. Slice it thin and make the most amazing venison carne asada tacos. Our third venison recipe surely wins the distinction of heartiest meal on the list. I'm talking about venison shepherd's pie. Vegetables, gravy, and meat coming together to make the rich, luscious filling, all loaded into a deep pan and topped with a massive layer of mashed potatoes. Then the whole thing gets baked until the top is irresistibly golden brown. One slice of this on a winter's day is all you need to warm your cold bones, though I can practically guarantee you'll go in for a second. Number 4 is a much welcomed update to the boring old deer burger. That's right, venison smash burgers. Modeled after the famous restaurant chain's flagship burger, these are currently my favorite way to make a burger, and they're pretty hard to screw up. 2 pretty small balls of ground venison, smashed very thin on the flat top or skillet, producing a caramelized surface that tastes as good as it looks. Grilled onions, cheese, a quick burger sauce, stacked up on a soft brioche bun. If it's summertime and you've still got ground burger meat in the freezer, this one's a no-brainer. Number 5 on the list is among my all-time favorite venison meals to make because it uses a part of the deer that most people overlook, and it creates a fine dining level meal that will convert even the most staunch anti-venison family members. The shank of a deer's leg is usually ground up or even thrown away, but if you braise it for a few hours in some liquid, it becomes the most delicious, melt-in-your-mouth piece of meat you've ever had. My favorite way to serve is over mashed potatoes with a simple gravy made from the braising liquid. Seriously, start saving those shanks. Number 6. I promised a world tour of venison cuisine, and our next stop is Germany. Jägerschnitzel is commonly made with pork or veal, but it works tremendously with venison. Schnitzel means we're pounding it flat, breading it, and shallow frying to gorgeous crispy goodness. Jäger means mushroom sauce in this context, so we're smothering that schnitzel with the most amazing, rich, creamy mushroom sauce. Heck, even if you don't have any backstrap left, make this exact same recipe with a standard boneless pork chop. Serve this for dinner and the plates will clean themselves. And while options are limitless for venison sausage, and I've made more varieties than I can recall, number 7 is specifically about Polish sausage. Because it's super simple to make, and who doesn't love a delicious Polish sausage? Salty, peppery, garlicky ground venison, stuffed into natural casings, grilled, baked, or fried to perfection, and served with all your Polish food favorites. I'm not personally a fan of sauerkraut, but slap a Polish sausage on a plate with some pierogi and sour cream, and I'm a happy guy. Do you enjoy P.F. Chang's Mongolian beef or Panda Express's Beijing beef? If so, you'll absolutely love my Mongolian venison, which is number 8 on the list. It might seem daunting to try at home, but it's basically just whipping together a sauce, seasoning some meat, chopping some vegetables, and stir-frying it all together. But do it in the right order, using the right ingredients, and you will be amazed at the sweet, savory, sticky, sensational stir-fry you will have created. Number 9 is a dish to make when you want to impress. Backstrap Bordelaise sounds, looks, and tastes very fancy, but it's pretty simple when we break it down. We're cutting a backstrap into thick medallions, seasoning them, pan frying them, basting them with butter, and then we're making a fancy Bordelaise sauce that is time-consuming but incredibly simple. In this video, I'm using backstrap medallions that still have some of the rib bone attached because it looks even fancier. But it's not necessary, and just slicing a hunk off a standard backstrap will produce the same result. Serve it with root vegetables, asparagus, or really any sides that go with a fancy steak dinner. And we're circling back to Mexican food for number 10. One of the more elaborate Mexican dishes to make, authentic birria is definitely worth making. Traditionally made with beef or goat, venison works very well for birria, which basically involves slow stewing meat in an intensely flavorful sauce. Made from dried ancho and guajillo chilies and a whole bunch of other ingredients, this all comes together to become what I can only describe as a flavor explosion. Impossibly tender venison, smothered in birria sauce, ready to build into the ultimate tacos, burritos, enchiladas, nachos, or whatever else your heart desires. Next stop on our world tour of food is a classic of old world Russian cuisine. My venison stroganoff is some serious stick-to-your-ribs comfort food that is not lacking on flavor. We're talking about thinly sliced deer steak, cooked to tender perfection. We're talking about sautéed mushrooms in a light, creamy gravy. And we're talking about serving all of it atop a bed of thick, rustic egg noodles. I grew up eating freeze-dried packets of Lipton instant stroganoff and convinced myself I wanted nothing to do with it as an adult, but making it from scratch the way I make it, I can confidently say that it's now one of the most satisfying bowls of food I could ever want to shovel into my mouth. Number 12 on the list takes us to Italy for my venison and cheese stuffed manicotti. For years I made these stuffed shells with just a spinach cheese mixture, but then I tried it with some of my homemade Italian venison sausage and I've never turned back. Amazing sausage made from ground venison, some fennel, basil, and a handful of other seasonings, ricotta cheese filling with spinach and garlic, all loaded up into tube-shaped pasta shells, smothered in mozzarella and Parmesan cheese, and baked until golden brown? Yes, please. Next up is a venison dish best made during the summer smoking season from that one deer roast you've still got sitting in your freezer. Number 13 on the list is smoked pulled venison. Smoking venison outside of sausage format can be a tricky thing because there's very little fat and it's super easy to dry it out and overcook into a piece of shoe leather. But with this technique of doing a half smoke, half braise, you can enjoy some tender, juicy, smoky, delicious shredded venison that rivals your favorite pulled pork or beef sandwich. My favorite way to eat it is with pickles, crispy onion straws, and of course, my homemade barbecue sauce. Next up is certainly not unfamiliar territory when it comes to venison meals, but still deserves honorable mention. Number 14 is venison chili, and I know that there are a million ways to make chili depending on where you live and how you grew up eating it. But what I'll call my Great Lakes venison chili is so good, even the proudest Texan would be able to enjoy a bowl, if perhaps done in secret. Ground seasoned deer meat, chilies, garlic, tons of yellow onion, and yes, beans. If you're looking for a new chili recipe or just want to try something a little different from the way you've always done it, why not give this one a try? Look, I've tasted a lot of bad homemade chili over the years, so I know at least a few of you out there can use this. And here we are at the final recipe. Last but certainly not least, number 15 on the list is the most amazing Venison Wellington. A definite statement piece in your venison arsenal. We're taking a big, meaty piece of backstrap, wrapping it in mushroom duxelles, prosciutto, puff pastry, and baking the whole thing into the most incredible log of delectable goodness. Drizzle with a simple brown sauce and garnish with chopped parsley. Some may think this too pretentious a dish for some good old deer meat, but serve them up a slice and they're guaranteed to change their tune and crown you the camp cook for pretty much the rest of your life. So there you have it, 15 succulent and delicious venison ideas that I hope will give you plenty of ideas for what to do with that deer that you're gonna get this season. And by the way, every meal that you saw in this video came from about 1/2 of a deer. That means you could make every single recipe on this list and still have around half a deer to do whatever you would ordinarily do with it anyway. And assuming that the deer gods are kind to me again this year, I'll be making a whole bunch of new videos in the coming weeks to share even more of my favorite ways to prepare venison. As for all the dishes we covered here, you can see the full videos for each of them right here on the Great Lakes Country channel. And you can get all of the written out, printable recipes for each one of them at greatlakescountry.com. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all our latest stuff, including all of my future venison cooking videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm John, and this is Great Lakes Country.